Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. We are the last group of international economic class in HI3B, and on today's video, we are going to explain about multinational cooperation and international organization, and particularly we're going to talk about non-state actor. So without any further ado, please enjoy our video.
Non-state actors that are not directly linked to the government of a state but have an impact in political, economic, social, or security context. Non-state actors can include international organization, non-governmental organization or NGO, multinational corporation, civil society groups, terrorist groups, or specific individuals. They play a role in shaping policies, influencing action, and contribution to dynamic within and between states. According to the definition of the United Nations in 1973, multinational corporation are a company that has assets, meaning factories, marketing office, and the like in two or more countries. Multinational corporation, according to another definition, is a company that has branch in several countries. Often, multinational corporation or MNC place their headquarters in the country of origin of a company, which then function to coordinate management globally. The political power of some MNC, such as Toyota and Microsoft, is not a weak, can be attributed to the amount of their budget or capital, which is very large and always increasing. International organization, also known as intergovernmental organization or international institution, are organizations that are established through treaties or instruments governed by several states to achieve common goals. International organization can be formed for a variety of purposes, including political, economy, security, global health, and environmental cooperation. Some examples of international organizations include the United Nations, the World Trade Organization or WTO, and the International Monetary Fund. The concept of non-state actor has existed since the concept of sovereign state in the Treaty of Westphalia in 1648. However, only a small number of non-state actors are recognized in international law, and their capacity is limited. The forms of non-state actor at that time include chivalric and fraternal order, the member of the Hanseatic League, the Free City of Cracow and Danzig, colonial territories, and protectorates in Africa and Asia, sub-state entities in federal structure or union of states, and de facto regimes. Furthermore, the European Commission of the Danube is included in this category of non-state actor. Then, different form of non-state actor emerged in the 17th century in the form of the East India Company and the Hudson Bay Company. Even though it was a company, they had power over the Indian subcontinent and part of modern-day Canada and part of the US of America. They were granted exclusive permission to trade, were exempted from tariffs, and consist of strong military components. In the case of the East India Company, King Charles II granted an update to the original 1609 to the original 1609 chapter in 1670 and permit the company autonomously to the acquired territory to mint money, to command fortresses and troops, to form alliance, to make war and peace, and to access both civil and criminal jurisdiction. Other non-state actors at that time include the International Administrative Union, the Universal Postal Union, and the International Telecommunication Union. In the interwar period, this limit role of non-state actor changed with the founding of the League of Nations and the International Labour Organization. In the early 1930, the Bank for International Settlement was founded. The bank's significance lies in the fact that it is one of the rare examples of state or non-state actor cooperation during this period in creating a permanent institution on the international level and in being a precursor of what was to transpire only after World War II and much more forcefully after the fall of the Iron Curtain. After World War II, the state-centered view of international law changed. They began to pay deeper attention to non-state actors in international relations, even though at this time individuals who were part of non-state actors were not yet considered subject of international law. The end of World War II witnessed the conclusion of important treaty document on human rights. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, figurant parties in civil war, national liberation movement, and also insurgent groups were included in the category of non-state actor. In the 19th century, non-governmental organizations also emerged, which were recognized by the UN Charter as non-state actor and as legal subjects. NGOs that emerged at that time were the British Encouraged Anti-Slavery Society in 1823, the International Geodesical Association in 1862, or the International Committee of the Red Cross or ICRC in 1863, later on followed by the first economic NGOs. In the process leading to the end of the Cold War, a growing awareness of non-state actors set in as the stalemate of bipolar war between the East and the West, with the attendant proxy conflict in Africa, Asia, and Latin America, and the formation of transnational civil society, aided by the increasing ability of individual and group to communicate with each other, economic globalization, and growing awareness of global issues are factors that play an important role in this process. The end of the Cold War also saw the increasing role of international organizations and private institutions that had a major influence on the internal governance of country. It was also during this period that the International Commission completed the draft article on state responsibility, which states that act of individual or group may be attributed to state.
Non-state actors are entities or groups that do not depend on the government of a state for their existence. They can include international organizations, multinational corporations, NGOs, and individuals who have influence in international economic activities. In the context of the international economy, non-state actors play an important role with various functions. So guys, here are some of the main roles and functions of non-state actors in the international economy. Firstly, we have multinational companies or MNCs. So MNCs are business entities that operate in more than one country. They contribute to the international economy by providing investment opportunities, creating jobs, and transferring technology and expertise. MNCs can facilitate technology and knowledge transfer, provide foreign direct investment, and also create global supply chains. The second one, we have non-governmental organizations or NGOs. So guys, NGOs are often involved in economic development, social welfare, and environmental protection projects. They may act as watchdogs, advocates, or program implementers. NGOs can provide humanitarian aid, monitor government and business policies, and promote sustainable economic practices. Thirdly, we have business and trade groups. So the role of business associations and trade groups represent the common interest of specific industry or trade sectors in different countries. They can promote free trade policies, provide a platform for sharing information and best practices, and also participate in policy advocacy. The fourth one, we have international financial groups. So international financial institutions such as the World Bank, International Monetary Fund, IMF, and International Development Bank have a key role in providing loans and financial support to countries around the world. They can assist countries in overcoming financial crises, provide loans for development projects, and provide economic policy advice. And next, we have media and public opinion as NGOs. So media and public opinion can have a significant influence on a country's economic image and policies. They can shape global perceptions of a country's economy, influence consumer and investor decisions, and force government responses to economic issues. And the last one, we have individuals and entrepreneurs. So entrepreneurs and individuals can serve as drivers of the international economy through innovation, investment, and private trade, and many more. They create jobs, generate income, and can be agents of change in the face of global challenges such as climate change and economic inequality. Non-state actors as a whole shape the international economic landscape and can have a significant influence on policies, business practices, and global economic dynamics.
Now, we will talk about instance of non-state actor like WTO or BlackRock. Maybe some of us asking who is the BlackRock was. Well, BlackRock was a financial firm in US. BlackRock itself was created by Douglas Lawrence with 7 other people in New York City at 1988 in US. Lawrence became the CEO and the founder of the BlackRock, but today BlackRock has developed into a private company with the largest revenue in the world, with more or less 120,000 trillion rupiah. That number is equivalent 10 times larger than Indonesian wealth in 2020, which just only 11,000 trillion rupiah. Currently, BlackRock was held by John C. Bogle, and he is an investor and a founder of Vanguard company. And after this, you might ask, who was BlackRock? How can a private company can have money more than a country? Well, this company has a significant role in international economic circumstances because they have a lot of money. When they are just a financial firm, they just buy some more assets from the multinational company or national company. They manage the giant of the world like Apple, Microsoft, and Amazon. In Indonesia itself, there are 30 companies are registered and managed by BlackRock. These companies like Goto, Telkom, America Copper, and with the other, they are called blue chip or 30 IDX because this company have managed so many assets. And companies around the world, they have made extensive data and connection around the world too. They use that as an opportunity, and they use that data and connection so they can act as a financial consultant. Because this role, they have influenced so many multinational companies and even a country. And that shows us how world trusts BlackRock to manage their money. In contrast to BlackRock, WTO, or we can say World Trade Organization, was an international organization was created to accompany international trade. This organization was created in 1 January 1995 after the Uruguay round, replacing the old organization that namely GATT, or we simply call them GATT. The difference between the BlackRock and WTO are the BlackRock was a private company and they act as a financial consultant for company and often for some country. But WTO is the organization that based on principle to accompany country member to get agreement about trade. This organization will provide forum for negotiation until the member reach the agreement. But this organization can act as international court if the member do violation based on treaty. This action become an international court is to guarantee security for the member from the organization. The member of WTO are just country. Companies are just a part of the country. Difference with the BlackRock, their client is actually the companies, not a country. Country can be their client, but the difference is WTO make a company just part of country. These two big actors have extraordinary influence in international economy. Beyond that, we must look to reality. They have some interest to something and they fulfill that interest from their influence. BlackRock itself has no guarantee to protect economic circumstances in national economy. BlackRock itself is so big and so strong that we can compare them to a country or beyond that. When they say ETF investment has a various risk in November 2023, by only using their data and they publish and they make a statement that ETF investment has a various risks that make Bitcoin ETF value has dropped drastically. Imagine they do that to a country, and it already happened in 1997 when a company has a very great influence and they can play the economy in regional domestic. And that's the same with WTO, but the difference is about the production. Maybe you look about this organization doesn't have any risk at all, but it has. When the minor country join or become the member of this organization, the minor country will look at that as an opportunity. They will use them like a wet towel and they will squeeze them until the minor country dry. They will do this like they will offer the short-term profit, but it will become a great loss in the long term. Also, the production where production from the minor country will fail to compare with the product from the minor country. That can happen because minor country product lack of quality, resources, data, and they are not trusted. Thank you.